Welcome back, everybody. This is episode number 12 of the SammyGuru podcast. My name is Jeff Springer, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Tori. Tori, say hi.
Hey, how's it going?
We're back another week. It's been a long week, I think, for Tori. Tori was just telling me his situation. It's been a busy week, Samsung-wise as well. One UI 6.1.1 dropped, so been busy covering a lot of stuff. We're probably going to have a little bit shorter episode today. Tori and I are seeing a stand-up comedy show tonight, but we didn't want to leave you guys out in the cold with no SammyGuru podcast.
That would be criminal.
I know that would be pretty rude. So we don't want to be rude. So we're going to go ahead and do the show. It'll probably be around an hour. But getting into it, Tori, so you can tell everybody else. You told me before the show. So what's been going on with you this week?
Oh, yeah. Just with the height of everything, we had a few, like fake bomb threats or stuff, circulating with schools and stuff. But, I'm just very fortunate that the school I'm at, they really, tried to do their best to look into everything and take threats and things very seriously. And, we're just trying to encourage parents to just really just make sure that they talk to their kids about, making false threats and things like that, just because, it is a very serious thing, especially in the world that we live in today.
Yeah, you can never be too careful with that. I mean, so much stuff that does happen around the country, obviously. So glad that nothing really happened there. But I mean, fortunately, that is part of working at high school and even sometimes working at the university. There's been stuff over the years when I worked at the university where, there were incidents either around campus or on campus and stuff like that. So I'm glad that worked out. Anything else? I mean, we're heading out to see Dusty Slay tonight.
I know. I am really excited. It has been a while since I've been to a comedy show, and I am greatly looking forward to it.
I'm a big fan of his Netflix stand-up, so I asked Tori if he wanted to come. He's actually, we're both Alabama fans, as we talked about. I got my shirt on. Dusty Slay is actually from Alabama, and one of his stand-up bits, he talks about how his dad is a huge Alabama Crimson Tide football fan, so I thought wearing the Alabama shirt to the show might be a good idea. Luckily, the show is just right around the corner here from the office here in downtown Phoenix, so it's not like we have a long way to go, but it's also the end of our workday, so we got to get some food. So that being said, let's jump into the news, not waste too much time, and let you guys get right to the meat of the show today. So first of all, big news this week, as I said, One UI 6.1.1, which is one of the two updates that we were really waiting on getting, is now rolling out to Samsung Galaxy S24 Series. It's only in Korea right now, but of course it will be coming to the US. And we, of course, covered the full thing. Sumit has a full write-up of this on the website. Highly recommend, as usual. He puts together these huge guides of everything you need to know. He has all the features listed. I've made a bunch of videos on our YouTube channel. Sumit and I have both been working crazy around the clock since Wednesday to cover this, but his article is exhaustive. I have some videos showing them off kind of in video form. Tori, some somewhat good news for you. The S22 Ultra will receive some of the features, but not all the features from the update. So there's a little controversy about this.
What?
Yeah, sorry. Not all the Galaxy I features, which we'll talk about in a second. Some of the ones that are coming from the Z Fold 6, which I have right here. All of those features that came out when it was released. Some of those are coming to the S22 Ultra, but it's not clear exactly which one. So they're getting a lot of the camera features, like Portrait Studio and some of those other features. But Samsung left the S22 Ultra and the S22 series as a whole off of their press release for devices that are officially getting the update. So we don't know when, and we also don't really know specifically which ones. We're assuming, because some other people have said on the Samsung community forums, a moderator said that the S22 Ultra would get sketched image as well, which is one of the coolest features I think we've talked about in the past. You draw something and AI converts it. But we don't know if it's going to get all the other ones. And really bad news for S21 users.
I was actually about to ask about that. Someone asked in the community forums, hey, what about our S21 peeps?
Yeah,
some action too.
Yeah. The S21 is not getting apparently hardly any of the I don't think it's getting even the camera features.
Oh, no.
So the S21 Ultra is getting left out in the cold for these specific Galaxy I features. Now, but keep in mind, though, the S21, just because it doesn't get these features from 6.1.1, we don't know if some of these might be introduced in 7.0 because Samsung has these two timelines. And, of course, this is some speculation, but a couple of other people have speculated on this as well, Sam Mobile and some other Samsung outlets. just because it's not getting the 6.1.1 doesn't mean it might not get some of those features in 7.0. It would just be a lot later, maybe in like December when that stable update comes. They had 2 updates they were doing back to back, so they can only support so many models
For sure.
with 6.1.1. So if you look at the full list, we have kind of a full list on the website, like I said, that Sumit put out. You've got S22, 22 Plus, 22 Ultra, getting some of the features, not all of them. The S23, S24 series, Z Fold 5, and Z Flip 5 will get pretty much all of the features. Those are the ones that are confirmed to get all of them, as well as the Tab S9 series, S9, S9 Plus, S9 Ultra, because that's the flagship tablet. The rest of them are not guaranteed to get all of them, but they will get some portion of the update, kind of picking and choosing. And if you look at the list that he talked about, there are various kind of pieces that we discuss, like which features will come to which phones. It's kind of hard to go through each individual one, but to kind of give you the timeline and some of the more exciting features, right now it's rolling out in Korea on September 9th, which is Monday. We're recording this on Friday the 6th. By the time you guys listen to this podcast, which will be Monday,
it'll be Monday.
you will have, hopefully, if you have an S24 device in the US, it should roll out to the US and Europe on Monday. That's what Samsung said. And if you have a S23 device, Fold 5 or Flip 5, or Tab S9 series, September 12th. So that's next Thursday.
Yeah.
So all of you guys who have newer Samsung devices from like the last 2 years should get it in the US and Europe at least by the end of next week. Now that doesn't mean it's going to roll out globally to every region by the end of next week. Samsung typically is relatively fast compared to historically where they would take months to roll out an update, but it'll probably still be a couple weeks. So if you're not in Korea, US, Europe, or those are the 3 big regions that usually get it first. You might be waiting until I would say maybe the 19th of September. They'll finish probably rolling it out. So just to remind you guys of some of the big features that are coming, I made several videos. Sketched image, which we talked about. I think that's a fun feature. I've actually used it more than I thought. I mean, the main reason I've used it more than I thought is because Jonathan likes to play with it. He likes to draw like when we're sitting at a restaurant and he's bored and doesn't want to sit. Because he's a 4-year-old, I pull out the S Pen. I'm like, hey, you want to draw some dinosaurs and have AI convert them and see what it thinks they look like? He likes to say, let's see what the phone thinks this picture looks like, because that's what he thinks it's doing. It's like interpreting, which I guess it is. Like the AI is interpreting what it thinks your drawing is. Sometimes I'm a terrible artist, so I draw a dinosaur and it thinks it's like a giraffe or something, and he thinks that's hilarious. So, I mean, it's a great feature if you have kids. They probably will like sketched image. The other ones that I think are really useful is that you will get new circle to search features. We talked about some of these Google features that are rolling out with circle to search. Samsung specifically highlighted them in the One UI 6.1.1 changelog as coming in this update. 2 of them are, one, that me and you would be very interested in, especially you since you're still teaching math. Well, maybe you're not interested, but your students would be. Advanced math problem solving capabilities. Now, when you use circle to search, when there's a math problem on the screen, you can watch my latest video because I did it live in the video. I did a double polar integral, like a Calc 3 integral. If you do circle to search on the screen, not only will it show you like suggested videos and places online, it'll actually let you submit the solution using a one button to all of the homework solve systems.
Whoa.
So now you have a one-click submit to like Mathway, Wolfram Alpha, Chegg. Like it'll submit it to all of them for you, and you don't have to do any work. So it makes it 10 times easier to cheat now using circle to search. It's called advanced math problem solving. That's what Google calls it. What we really call it is the dumbification of our youth, because now no one will know how to do a polar integral. I mean, a lot of people don't know now, but no one will know because they won't do it. They'll just have it do it. It was really easy to get the solution to a pretty hard integral. And you can use all the tools in one place. Like you don't have to leave Google search now. You just press down circle to search and like boom, there's your solution right there. I'll show it to you later too. Maybe I'll insert a clip from the video here into the podcast. And then the other one, which we've been waiting for so long, is the circle to search music, which we talked about many times.
No, I really like
which is cool. Like if there's a song playing nearby or on your own device and you hold down the circle to search button at the bottom, then it pops up a little music note at the bottom, which will let you get information about the song. Now, the thing about this is I have the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, which I actually just got in here today. We're going to talk about it in the hardware segment. Here that is. It doesn't even have circle to search music yet, and this is Google's phone. So I don't know what's going on with the circle to search music, like the rollout. So I said in my video, like, yes, we're going to get these features. They're going to be inside of the update for 6.1.1, but I don't even know if that's necessarily true. It may not be true because Samsung seems to be rolling them out, but Google's pushing some of them from the server side too. And so I don't actually know. Hopefully they come, but it's listed in the changelog. Weather effects on wallpapers. So your wallpaper. Oh, go ahead, Tori. What were you going to say?
No, finish that, and then I actually have a question.
So another feature was the wallpaper automatically adjusting to the time and day and weather conditions. This, I actually got an update last night on the S24 Ultra here. I've got 3 phones on the table. This one, I got the update. It's like a 1 gigabyte update where it shows like if it's, I mean, obviously it's never going to snow in Phoenix, but if it's snowing outside or raining, sometimes it doesn't, it hardly even rains here, some weeks, months, it shows you the weather effects on the screen.
Oh,
so
cool.
Not that cool in Phoenix, but it is really cool. Like if you live, I mean, I don't know if it is cool because like if you live in Colorado, it's snowing a lot. But I mean, I don't know if it really is cool. So, we'll see what happens. So the next thing that I wanted to mention too, go ahead, ask your question first, sorry.
Oh yeah, so as we were just kind of like talking about all the updates and like the newer versions of getting that these phones will be getting, and I was just kind of reflecting on like, all right, well my S22, is getting some, but not all of them, and even more for the S21. I feel like as an average consumer, and since you're an enthusiast and have really spent a lot of time like just researching and knowing about phones, a lot of us want to know, well, if I'm not getting all the updates, when is a good time for me to upgrade phones?
And that's a good question. And I think this opens the question to something that a lot of people ask in terms of Samsung now advertises that if you buy a new phone, you get 7 years of software updates. And I think when the S22 Ultra came out, it was 5 years. And some people say, well, 22 plus 5 is 27. So my phone should still be getting all the updates because the 27's not out yet, right?
Yeah.
So this basic edition, everybody can add 22 plus 5. I mean, most people can. So the question is why? And it's because for the average consumer who looks at that, they think, well, 5 years of software updates means every software update my phone will get. And that's not what Samsung means. They mean security critical updates. They don't mean feature updates. So unfortunately, there's some fine print in these, like you're going to get software updates for X number of years. And when they say 7 years for the S24, they don't mean that your S24 is going to be getting the new version that the S30 gets, because that's not going to happen. Probably a lot of things can't get pushed because newer processors allow new capabilities. That's the whole reason that, new software comes out with new hardware, is that like a lot of the AI stuff specifically, like the new processors, like the new Snapdragons have an AI coprocessor, which allows it to process some of this stuff faster. And like if you were to do that on S21, it would like grind your phone to a halt, because some of that stuff, like AI wasn't a big deal really with the S21 yet, because that was like at the beginning of COVID time.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of AI push back then. So a lot of AI tasks weren't being done on device yet. And so it would really like destroy the performance of your phone. So it's not like Samsung's not being like, oh, I just want to nickel and dime everyone, which of course they do want to make money, but they can't really push some of these features to something like the S21 because the processors aren't in a position to handle it and still get good battery life. Like you would have a terrible experience with your phone. So in my opinion, and to answer that question, because it's a good question, I think every 3 years is a good upgrade cycle for people these days. That's my personal opinion, just kind of doing this every day and kind of thinking about where phones are from a maturity level of hardware and balancing that with like software features. If you upgrade every 3 years, you're always going to be mostly on the most recent software feature set wise. Like you're going to get all the newest features. And that's basically where you are, right? Like the S25 is coming out, so it's probably a good time for you to upgrade. Like you did an upgrade for 2 cycles, and that was fine because you pretty much have gotten all the features for the last few years. And now that you're starting to miss out on a couple of key features, maybe it's time to upgrade. As the average consumer who wants to, who's an average consumer who still cares about their tech and they want their phone to still be relatively current. I'm not talking about like your grandmother who just uses it to like text you every like 2 or 3 days or maybe video call you once a week. Obviously, they don't need to upgrade their phone every 3 years. They could upgrade it every 6 or 7 years, and it's as long as it works and the battery's still operational, like they don't care.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like people who are in the, working person's demographic, like maybe 25 to like 55. Like you care about your phone working, you have family, you've got a job, you need it to work at a pretty high level, and you want the features to be compatible. So that's a good question. The other features that are really interesting, you've got AI Writing Assistant, Chat Assist, and now the Galaxy S24 Ultra and all those other phones that get the AI features for 6.1.1, they're getting the smart suggested replies that the Z Flip 6 had, where it would suggest on the cover screen like some replies. But here's where they get you with this. Samsung is definitely trying to make some money here. They only going to give you the smart suggested replies on the S series and the Fold. It's on the Fold 6 now. I have it on here. It wasn't on here until I got the recent update. That was only a flip feature because it was on the cover screen. But now if you have a Fold or you have an S series, you only get suggested replies if you have this guy right here.
No.
You need to have a Watch 7 or Watch Ultra, one of the newest watches, because the smart suggested replies will only show up on your watch. Basically, they're thinking like that's a small screen just like the Flip, so it makes sense. Whereas maybe it doesn't make as much sense for a big phone like the Fold or the S24 Ultra. But that's a little bit of a cash grab. They're like, yeah, you could have this cool feature with AI suggested replies to all of your WhatsApp messages and your other text messages, but only if you buy the latest watch. As far as I know, it doesn't work on like Watch 6 or Watch 5 Pro.
The latest.
Like even 1-year-old watches, which is, that's not great. You've also got a couple of other cool features for productivity. You've got enhanced multi-window. Smart Select also will offer suggested actions based on what you suggest. Easily copying and moving files. Basically, you can just choose the destination in a pop-up window and easily return to the original folder when done. These are features that I would personally use a lot because I do a lot of productivity on my phone. So those are things that I would enjoy. And then a lot of the camera features, which like I said, I told you a lot of these are going to come to the S22 Ultra as well. The Portrait Studio Auto Zoom for the Flex camera. This is a Z Flip feature only, but it'll come to the older Flips. Instant slow-mo, as far as I know, I think the S22 Ultra is getting that. A lot of people are speculating about the S22 Ultra. It's kind of funny because I made a post where I was calling out the fact that Samsung didn't put the S22 series in the press release for One UI 6.1.1 because they didn't. It said, here's the supported devices. And there was no S22. It wasn't there. No, so the average consumer would look like that and be like, oh, I'm not getting it. And so, of course, I said in the article, it's still likely it's going to get some features because we had heard from a community forum moderator that some of them would happen. And then after I post that, Sam Mobile, they make a post like, some people misconstrued the S22 will still get some features. I was like, whoa, guys. Hey, don't subtweet me. If you're gonna say something, go ahead and call me out. Go ahead and link to the post so we can get some of those valuable backlinks. We need the SEO. If you're gonna piggyback off my post over here, at least, the very least, just hit us with the backlink. We're trying to get some stuff too. We love you guys as well. Hey, it's all friendly competition, but at least a little backlink for us. Anyway, lots of other stuff. I highly recommend reading Samit's post. It's super long. I think it's like 3,500 words, but it's great. And also the videos I have. What do you think, Tori? Excited about 6.1.1? I mean, obviously less so because you're not getting every feature.
Yeah, I'm not getting everything. But you know, I really am. I mean, because like I really like, and I was kind of reflecting on this earlier, just how much AI and AI capabilities are starting to, creep more and more into our lives. And like looking at the usefulness of it. And so I'm excited, especially with the sketch to draw feature. That's what I'm really looking.
Yeah, sketch to image. It's a great feature. I mean, I think you'll have fun playing with it too. I mean, like I said, obviously if you have kids or if you have a nephew or something like that, they're going to love it. So, pull that out. The holidays are coming up. It's a great way if you have a newer Galaxy phone to impress, even if you don't have kids, but like your younger nephews or other younger family members when you're at the holiday gatherings, just bust out the S Pen, start showing them some cool stuff. Like my son loves that. He loves Pixel Studio on the Pixel as well. Like he thinks the AI generation stuff is really cool. Now, obviously, we don't spend a ton of time doing it just because I don't want to skew his view of reality because obviously it's AI generated content. I want him to be more creative himself, but I'm like, it's fun, but I try to explain to him exactly what it's doing. I think that's important too. Obviously, I'm not going to tell anybody else how to parent their kids, but try to explain to your kids like what's happening when it does it. It's hard to explain to a 4-year-old, but as he gets older, try to educate him a little more. Because I personally don't want my kids to be shoving stuff into their polar integrals into the Google circle to search, and that's the only way they get their homework done. I'd like them to know some stuff. AI is a great tool, but it's not not necessarily the only tool that would
Yeah.
need access to. I think you would probably agree as well. So that's One UI 6.1.1. That was the massive story. We've got tons of stuff on it. We got like 10 articles on the website with everything you could ever want to know, including the really long one with the whole features detailed. I've got 3 videos up on YouTube. I've been absolutely busting my butt to get content up with features that are lesser known features that you might want to know about. I covered some camera samples. That's the other thing I forgot to mention. Our old buddy Ice Universe, we don't have it here yet, but he lives in the Asian region. He got the update. He took some pictures and posted them on Twitter. So I went through those in the video and analyzed them a little bit for the improvements. I will say, for those who have S24 Ultra, good things coming. This camera update looks like it's pretty big. We were promised great camera improvements with 6.1.1. It looks like they delivered because the zoom looks better, overall better dynamic range, better performance in low light. The only thing that makes me a little upset, though, is he didn't take any nighttime shots. Although I guess, to be fair, I know how it works. Like, he got the update and he took them immediately. It was daytime there.
Yeah.
So he didn't have time. He wanted to get them up quickly because, he's got to make that Twitter money too, just like everybody else got to make their money making content. So you got to be first. You got to get the impressions. You got to get paid. But it'd be nice if he would added some nighttime shots. He could have by now. I've been so busy I haven't looked. But check out my video going over kind of in detail my thoughts. Well, of course, when I get it next week, I don't have it. But when I get it, the update, I'll take a bunch of shots myself, including nighttime shots, and we'll go through those next week on the podcast. Hopefully next week we'll have a longer show since Tori and I won't be kind of headed off to an event.
Yeah.
Next up on the news list, and this is a huge one. I just included this one because I personally am excited about this. Native Google Drive app is finally coming to the Snapdragon X Elite laptops, which would be the one I have right here on this table.
Excellent.
The Galaxy Book 4 Edge. You guys have heard me. In fact, I think if you go all the way back to the very first episode of this podcast,
Yep,
I had gotten
talking about it.
yeah, I had just gotten this laptop, and I think the very first hardware segment we did was me talking about this laptop, and I said, I love the laptop, battery life's great. I could honestly use it over my MacBook if I wanted, except for one big thing. There is no Google Drive app. None. Like, you can't install a Google Drive desktop on this because it doesn't compile with Snapdragon. It's been announced now by Qualcomm's CEO at their developer conference that Google has worked with them to develop Google Drive 4. And Gemini is going off on all my phones because I said Google. Yeah, so Google's partnered with them to develop Google Drive for the Book 4 Edge. And it's coming, but it's not coming right now. It says Q4. And usually when companies say Q4, they mean around December 31st of 2024. So,
Yeah.
You can expect it on or before December 31st, but I wouldn't put any stock in it before then. In fact, usually when companies say Q4, they assume that people will forget about it around the time of the holidays, and then they'll have some time to wait until like the last week of December. Probably not the 31st, but between Christmas and New Year's, if you have a Book 4 Edge or a Snapdragon laptop, just go on there and check for it. It'll probably be there sometime between the 25th and the 31st. That'd be my guess. So that's really good news, though. I'll start using this laptop way more, actually, because I like it. When I go out, when I'm like on the go and traveling, my MacBook is still my favorite machine for productivity. It's just a beast. You can't, it can't compare them, though. This laptop is $1,600. The MacBook was $5,000. You can't really compare. There's a huge price difference. But this one is lighter. Performance is great. Battery life is still great. And for media consumption, I actually like it a little better. And it integrates with my Samsung phones. I get all my messages. I can control my phone from here using Samsung's continuity. So I like it when I go out and I'm just running errands when I'm like at a coffee shop or traveling. It's a really good. I'll use it a lot more. What else? The Galaxy Z Fold Special Edition first images have arrived. And I don't think, Tori, you had a busy week, so you probably didn't see them yet.
No, I have
Here's
not.
the exclusive look that Android Headlines provided. We wrote it up, but Android Headlines had the exclusive first look. This is the image right here of the Galaxy Z Fold Special Edition. So you guys will see it there on the screen. Couple of things to take away from this, and I called this out. I wrote this article because it actually was breaking during the day, U.S. time. So I was up, Samit was asleep. One of the rare times where he's at the opposite is usually true because usually news is breaking. Samsung news breaks Korean time. But this actually leaked. Android Headlines is a U.S. website just like us, and they had exclusive here. By the way, if anybody has content you guys want to leak, SammyGuru.com, Jeff at SammyGuru.com, we need some exclusive leak partnerships. And hey, I got a little bit of money potentially. You know, I'm just saying, like, these other websites, I got some resources. So
Yeah,
if you have some
take Jeff
exclusive
up.
information and you are a leaker and you're listening to this podcast and you're like, hey, I need to make some revenue, well, we could talk. Jeff at SammyGuru.com. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, Android Headlines exclusive, they have a few things that you can notice. First, it's a heck of a lot thinner than the Z Fold 6.
Yeah, no, it
I
does
actually
look-
put a picture of my Z Fold 6 in folded form with the hinge side by side, but it's way thinner than this. This device is already thin. Like, look at it. I mean, you guys
that
can
looks
see
thin,
it.
but that looks even thinner.
Yeah, I mean, it really looks like. I mean, I know Samsung won't skimp on the hinge durability, but it looks dangerous, kind of. I mean, it looks dangerously thin, but it looks nice. I mean, obviously, when it's folded, it's going to satisfy one of my big complaints, which is that when it's folded, it's thicker than an S24 Ultra. I want it to be the same size. It's only supposed to be, I put it at the end of this article, 10.6 millimeters thick. So only like only a few millimeters thicker than an S24 Ultra, barely thicker. That is insane, first of all. And then the other things you can notice, the cover display is a lot wider. It kind of looks like almost the width of an S24 Ultra. It's not quite, but it's almost. And it's actually wider than this guy, which we'll talk about in the hardware second. This is the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. This guy already has a pretty wide cover display.
Yeah.
The brushed titanium look on the back. Do you like the brushed titanium look,
I
Tori?
do. It looks
nice,
good.
huh?
It looks like a very nice quality phone for like what I'm assuming you're paying on. If it were to ever come to the US, you'd be paying.
And you know we're going to
lot.
pay a lot of money to import it.
Yes.
Because all the people who will let you import it, they're going to jack up the price even more than it costs in Korea because they know you can't get it.
Yeah.
So when I go to buy it from like eBay or another retailer, it's probably going to retail for the equivalent of like $2,000, $2,200 in Korea.
For sure.
And then here they're going to charge me like $3,000. They're going to be like, sorry, that's the $800 not availability tax, so you can't buy it in your country. So. And then, so first of all, that is actually titanium because remember Sumit covered the leak where there is a titanium backplate on this phone. So that's actually titanium. It's not just a brushed titanium look. It is titanium.
That's cool.
The other crazy
That's
thing
nice.
is it has S Pen support still, despite being this thin, which is crazy because the digitizer that has to fit in the display has to take up some space.
Yeah. for
So
sure.
this is actually like a technological marvel. I mean, when Samsung puts this out, I mean, they're basically saying F you to us and everybody else who criticized the fact that they can't innovate anymore. They're like Johnny
They
Ive.
just did it.
They're like Johnny Ive or whoever said that at Apple. I forgot who it was.
They just did
the other
it.
Phil Schiller from Apple. He said, can't innovate my ASS. That's what they're saying to us. They're saying, we can innovate. And obviously, if that happens, if this phone looks like this, if this is real, and the S Pen works flawlessly on the main display, like I'm impressed. I'll shut up. I take back whatever I said the last few weeks. The last few weeks when the Fold 6 launched, I take it all back because if the S Pen works, that's a modern like technical marvel. Like the digitizer fitting in there, all the other foldables, right? They don't have S Pen support.
Yeah.
So like the Vivo, all those ones in China, and the Pixel, they don't have S Pen support. So of course they can be thinner than the Z Fold 6 because the digitizer for the S Pen doesn't have to fit in there. So if they do this is insane. Plus, not to mention, 5 megapixel under display camera on the front, huge upgrade. The rear camera housing looks different than the Fold 6 here.
it does,
you can
yeah.
see this one's more rounded on the Fold 6. This one's a little more squared off, like a
Yeah, it
squircle.
does look more squared off.
And it's also a lot bigger, and we know why it's a lot bigger. It's because it no longer has a 50 megapixel primary sensor. It's got a 200 megapixel primary sensor, the same one that's in the S24 Ultra. So this would be probably Samsung's biggest, most impressive innovation in a long time. Unfortunately, retail availability looks like it's going to be China and Korea. So,
I know.
you know, they are going to make their best phone, or the most impressive innovation-wise, since the original Z Fold, and they're not going to release it globally, which is frustrating. But if you are the average person, you don't want to import one, which, again, don't recommend it unless you just, like, you have multiple phones, you got a lot of money to blow, like, you don't have to worry about money, and you don't care if the 5G works. So you need all three of those things. See, I'm in the
For
unique
real.
position. I mean, I'm not bragging, but we do this. I do this for a living, right? So it's a business expense. I could write it off. I don't necessarily care if the 5G works because I do have a bunch of other phones, and it's to make content to bring you guys the review of the phone. So for me, it's a write-off. It's not something that I'm just going out and spending the money, and I don't really care too much about, having the 5G bands, because obviously I have a bunch of US phones I can use. It's not going to get 5G everywhere. So if you use any US carrier, and some of them won't even work. Like Verizon's not going to work on this at all, because Verizon never works on international imports. It's basically going to be T-Mobile and AT&T, and only T-Mobile is probably going to have wide 4G capability. Almost none of them are going to have, 5G, fully 5G. So anyway, this is very interesting. I can't wait to get one. Supposedly it's launching next month. We will bring it. We will compare it. We will make videos. We will talk about it on this podcast. So make sure you're subscribed to all the things, YouTube, the website, everywhere. We got SammyGuru is all over the place. We're taking over the whole internet.
Yeah.
Before we get into the second half here of the stories, we're going to go ahead and take a quick moment to hear from the sponsor of today's podcast. Today's episode of the SammyGuru podcast is brought to you by our partners at Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile has premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, and right now, for a limited time, they have one of their best deals of all time, where all of their plans are just $15 a month. That means that you can get their amazing unlimited premium wireless plan for 50% off the usual cost. All of Mint Mobile's plans come with unlimited talk and text, nationwide coverage, and mobile hotspot included as well. The great thing about Mint is they are completely online. You don't have to worry about any in-store sort of overhead. They basically give you all of the savings that they can by avoiding those costs. You can also get either an eSIM if you have a phone that supports that, like the Galaxy S25 Ultra or other modern Samsung phones, or if you prefer a physical SIM or need one, they will mail one to you as well. The great thing about Mint is you save a ton of money over the big wireless carriers, and they simplify your billing and also try to make sure that you have the correct plan for you. I've loved using Mint here in the Phoenix, Arizona area for almost the last 2 years. My family and I have switched over fully. We love their service. If you guys are interested in checking them out, go to trymintmobile.com/Springer. The link will also be in the show notes if you'd like to click on it that way and sign up. This is a limited time offer for the 50% off the unlimited plan, where all of their plans are $15 a month, so take advantage today. All right, guys, we are back. So we got a few more news stories. Then we're going to talk about Pixel 9 Pro Fold, terrible name. Briefly touch on the iPhone 16 event, and then we got a couple questions to answer. So quick stories to run down before we finish. Samsung is really phasing out Samsung Messages. We talked about this many times. Turns out I was wrong. Hey, I always admit when I'm wrong. I'm not like some people on the internet. As I've said before, some of these guys double down when they're wrong, and they're like, I was not wrong. It's just something changed. No, I was wrong. I said when this originally started happening, I apologize to AppX as well, my colleague on YouTube, Sally, and he's a great guy. He made a video saying, looks like Samsung Messages is going away. I made a post saying, that doesn't look like, there's no evidence of that. And there wasn't at the time, but I was wrong because I speculated at the time saying they probably won't get rid of Samsung Messages. They are. So they're now pushing banners inside the Samsung Messages app to people who are still using it as the default, saying you need to switch to Google Messages. So Samsung is actually putting that in their own app. So that suggests to me it's about time to jump off that sinking ship. It's like the Titanic, it's like Leonardo DiCaprio action. You're about to be out on the raft. Someone's going to leave you to freeze to death. So you might as well go ahead and migrate over to Google Messages. We have a tutorial on how to do that, luckily. See, that's a great segue there. Just, you got to always be closing. That's the key. Always be closing, ABC, right? So we have a tutorial. I'll drop in the show notes. It's probably time to go ahead and just migrate on over there. No problem. It's a great app. Nothing wrong with Google Messages. I just was hoping they weren't going to really do that, but it looks like they are. You can now do a bunch of other cool stuff with Circle to Search, and this is actually making me think that Samsung might get rid of another Samsung feature in favor of a Google feature.
What?
We talked about Smart Select before, where you can crop images, and I told you how I use it for social media, like cropping Instagram posts and stuff and sharing to Twitter. Well, now you can do the same thing with Circle to Search. So Google announced that you can now crop images on your screen, share them directly to social, save them to your devices, basically everything that Smart Select has done for years. And so now I wonder, eventually is Samsung just going to say, Smart Select, we don't need to maintain it anymore because Google already offers that service. Circle to Search is built into iOS, so just tell people to use that. I mean, I hope not. I'm not saying that's what they're doing now, but this was a new feature. And the other new feature, which is very useful, I know my wife's going to love this because my wife always asks me, when I send her a link that has a QR code in it, she's like, well, how am I supposed to scan the QR code if it's on my actual screen? If you see a QR code on a poster somewhere, you use your camera and it works. Fine. But if someone sends you a link and there's a QR code and you want to access it, She's like, how do I do that? Well, now circle to search, if you do circle to search and the QR code, it'll take you to the link directly.
That's cool.
So that's a good
I like
feature.
that.
Yeah. So Google's adding like a ton of stuff to circle to search. It's only really been out since January because it launched, like we talked about before, Google gives Samsung a lot of exclusives, like because they're such big partners, mainly because, as we said before, Samsung's keeping Android afloat.
Yeah, right.
There'd be no reason to develop Android if Samsung wasn't around. So Google's like, hey, we better give them some exclusive partnerships because if they don't keep making hardware, there'd be no reason for us to keep making Android. So
No, for real.
basically, they launched it with the S24, and they just rolled out tons of stuff. We've now got QR codes, basically Smart Select now, music circle to search, translation in circle to search, cheat on all your math homework in circle to search.
Yeah.
You got all this stuff. Like it's
Got
like
all the
advanced.
stuff.
I mean, that's not even basic cheating. It's like next level cheating. So they got some crazy stuff going on. Now, this is an interesting story. So Meet posted this one. Apparently, there's a rumor now that Samsung may not be doing the XR headset we've been talking about, that it might actually be smart glasses instead of a headset.
Interesting.
This would be interesting. I think more people, because me and Tori were talking about this, would people wear this like out in public? If it's a big headset, no one's going to do it.
No.
But if it's just smart glasses, like if they look like sunglasses or regular glasses, more people would. Because I think you might remember like Snapchat had like the partnership with Ray-Ban or whatever, that you get Snap glasses. I saw a decent number of people
buzzing
wearing
about
those.
that.
I mean, I'm not really part of the Snapchat generation because I'm 38. But, if I were 10 years younger, I might have owned a pair of Snapchat sunglasses. I see no reason to buy it because, again, like if it's a product I'm not going to use myself, I still love tech, but if I'm not going to use it myself and I don't think I could make money reviewing it, I'm not going to buy it. There's those two things. I really want it, in which case I'll buy it, and I don't necessarily feel like I have to make a video because I just enjoy the hobby of tech. Or if I don't necessarily find a use for it myself, but I know I could make money doing a video on YouTube and people would be interested because it's Samsung, then I will. Yeah. These definitely fall into the second category. It's not something I feel like I would buy if I wasn't doing YouTube. I will buy whatever product Samsung releases in the VR XR category just because it's Samsung. I reviewed the original Samsung Gear VR. I don't know if you remember, Tori.
No,
it was probably before you started using Samsung. They had a VR product. It was just a headset where you could actually clip your phone into it, and you could use your phone as the screen. It was called the Gear VR, and it was a long time ago, like back in the, I don't know, say Note 5 days, around that time. It's a long time ago, and it actually did pretty well. It was around for like 3 generations. People liked them, but that was a product where I reviewed it, but I didn't use it a lot after I reviewed it because it's just not my deal. But I'm always willing to give new product categories a chance because hey, like I said, sometimes I'm wrong, not that often. But it happens. It happens. Just like with the messages thing. So I could say, well, I don't like smart glasses, but then I get them and be like, well, smart glasses are the bee's knees. And then I can go on and tell you guys about it on YouTube. So, if it's a product I don't necessarily love, but it's still Samsung and I know it's going to be interesting to the general Samsung user, I'll still do it. I'm not sure. Sumit was speculating that maybe they would have 2 different XR products. Maybe one's a headset and one's a pair of glasses. I don't know, but I think this.
I don't know about that one.
This new leak makes me think that some of the other leakers, because Ice Universe hasn't said anything yet, so he's the only one that, like, if he says it, I 100% believe it. But he's not said that this is definitely launching in October. All he's really said is that the Fold Special Edition, the S24 FE, and the Tab S10 series are going to launch in October. He never said anything about the XR headset or glasses. I'm starting to think, given how murky the leaks and rumors have been on this, there's no concrete details. We don't have any actual pictures. Usually if something was going to release in October, we'd already have all the stuff.
Yeah, right.
Because we already know everything about the Fold Special Edition. It's been leaking like a leaky faucet for the last month. We now have everything. We've seen the design. We know the cameras. We know the materials. We know the processor. I don't think this is going to come out in October. I mean, that's just my thought. Because, otherwise we would know for sure like what they're going to launch.
Yeah, for sure.
But maybe we'll let Tori try it when I get the headset or whatever it is. Because, he's played with some VR stuff. You said you've tried some. So he can bring like a more experienced side. We can both play with it. Me and Tori are going to try to do like some tag team reviews on the site. I really want to try that, at least for one product. Because I think that'd be interesting. Like, here's the enthusiast perspective. Here's the casual consumer perspective. I think we're definitely going to do that for the S25 Ultra. Because we're both going to get one. I think that'd be a really fun one, because then you can see like this guy who does Samsung for every day of his life for work thinks this, but this guy who is a math teacher at a high school and uses it, for his everyday kind of work, but isn't the maximum enthusiast, thinks this. So in January, we'll probably both get one and talk through that. The last couple rumors here, the Galaxy S25 series, which of course we were just talking about, we're going to do the review on. We have this rumor. I wrote this post up. Every year, this rumor gets started, and it's never true. Ice Universe says that it is true this year, so I'm going to say I believe it.
Okay.
But for the last 4 years, every year someone says the next S phone will not have any Exynos processors around the world. That's Samsung's in-house chip, and every single one will use Snapdragon. And the last 4 years, people say that in like September or October, and then we get to January, and it's like, oh, well, no. In like half the regions in the world, the Plus and the base model have Exynos, and only the Ultra has Snapdragon everywhere. So this rumor got put out there. I forgot by who, but I wrote up the post, so you can check out the link on the website. And then I was very skeptical. I said, this is something we hear every year, so I wouldn't put too much stock in it. But I went back and updated it because Ice Universe chimed in on X a little bit later and said, this is actually true. All of them will run on Snapdragon. This is great news for you guys around the globe. It's not big news for our U.S. listeners because we get Snapdragon regardless, because Qualcomm's a U.S. company and Samsung partners with them in the U.S. because they get favorable terms because it's their domestic market. But in other markets, Samsung can buy processors from themselves cheaper because Samsung Semiconductor is a subdivision of Samsung. Samsung's a massive company, and the mobile is just one business, and semiconductors is another. They actually all run as separate business units, which is interesting, but they all pool the revenue to the big Samsung. It's interesting how Samsung is structured, but obviously if Samsung Mobile wants to buy Samsung Semiconductor products, they say, hey, Samsung. They're like that Spider-Man meme. They're looking at each other, and then they sell themselves a processor for a really cheap price, and it's a really good deal. So I don't know. Ice Universe says it. I'll say I believe it. Maybe you should believe it if you're in a region where you want to buy an S25 non-Ultra, and you don't like Exynos, which most people don't. They prefer Snapdragon because of some of the benchmarks and the thermals. Good news. Hopefully you won't have to deal with Exynos this year. That'd be really good. Okay, so let's transition now out of the news and into the hardware. A little bit of shorter news. Corey and I usually we usually ramble on for like an hour about the news, but since we got to go to the show and get some dinner, let's talk hardware, because I do have an interesting piece of hardware in here for you guys today. I got the Pixel 9 Pro Fold here.
Looks really nice.
Which is very nice. Here's the how it looks unfolded. Show that to you there, Tori, as well. And it is a great piece of hardware. I do have some things to say about the software, as you guys can imagine. I am a software guy. I mean, that is kind of how my YouTube channel started, was reviewing software and apps and all that stuff. So first of all, it has a bigger screen. It's hard for me to hold them both back here with a mic, but I am making a video on this, which will be up next week. It has a bigger screen when unfolded than the Z Fold 6. It isn't as tall as the Z Fold 6, though. The aspect ratio is still a little more square, but it is a lot less square than the original Fold from Google last year. And the cover display is obviously a lot wider than the Z Fold 6. I can actually probably hold up the two cover displays side by side because they're a little bit smaller. Holding them up in unfolded form is a little harder side by side just because I have to grip both of them with the mic here in front of me. But here's what I want to say about this. I was wrong about the camera being amazingly better than the Z Fold 6. This camera is good. I do think it's probably better than the Z Fold 6, but it's not as good as the 9 Pro XL, which we knew because they don't have the same camera sensors. But what you'll notice here is that, just like a lot of the other Folds that are here in the US, it doesn't have like a, massive, 4-camera array like some of the Chinese manufacturers. Yeah. And it's not as good as it's not as good as the Vivo Foldable. I have the Xiaomi Mi Mix Fold finally coming. I imported one today. I have so many phones. Like I gotta do something with these phones. I mean, there are people who have more than me, like Flossie Carter, but not too many people. I have way too many stacked up in this office, and then I have more at home. I just forget about phones. Like Tori, when he said he wanted to try a flip phone, I forgot I even had a Razr. I was like, hey, I have a Razr that I haven't booted in like months. Do you want to just have that and you can just play with it? I just forget that I even have them. But here's what I want to say about this. The hardware is great, but the software on this phone, I don't want to sugarcoat it. It still sucks. for a book style foldable. This is why Samsung is ahead with book style foldables, even though right now, and again, we talked about the special edition earlier, this is going to change in like a month when that comes out, but their hardware is, in my opinion, behind everyone else. Even the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. This hardware is better because the screen's wider. I don't want to say that unfolded it's better, but the crease is less noticeable than on the Z Fold.
The crease does.
It's less noticeable than on the Z Fold, for sure. This one is not as noticeable when you look at it straight on than it is on the Fold. So that's one thing. But the software is just... I'll tell you a couple things, because we don't have forever, but let me tell you some things that bother me. On the Z Fold 6, you can set a different wallpaper on the outside screen versus the inside screen. Now, of course, being the idiot that I am, I didn't do that before this video, before the podcast, because I had forgot that I was going to talk about this. But let me just show you. Here's an awesome dragon wallpaper that Jonathan was looking at. He wanted me to set. Now I have a dragon wallpaper on the main display. And then when I fold it, I got this beautiful mountain wallpaper, both from 14wall/Thematica, our good friends 14 Studio. Shameless plug right there. Go check out their apps, which will be in the show notes as well. You can't do this on the Pixel Fold. And not only that. So if you look at the screen here, let me actually clear all the notifications so you guys can see the wallpaper. You see I have this other one on the lock screen, this one with this guy?
Yep.
It's like a lion, a female lion or whatever.
Like that, yeah.
That was also from Thematica. When you open it, the aspect ratio look how much zoomed it is. It clips it clips the wallpaper.
It's like the whole thing.
Yeah. It doesn't do that on the Fold. The aspect ratio sets correctly. And this is almost every wallpaper app. It's not just Vuk's apps. So he's not doing anything wrong. I tested other ones. Not only that, and here's the other part that's terrible. You can't even have separate app layouts for the inside versus the outside.
What?
Like the app layout that you have on the outside. See how I have like these 5 apps or whatever on the home screen? If you scroll over, I have these 5 apps on this screen. Those apps have to be the same as the ones that are along the bottom on here. If you delete an app from in here, like if I delete, let's say I delete Slack. I mean, obviously I have to put this back later because that's what we use for the website communication.
Yep.
But say I delete Slack and then I go to the cover display. Check it out. Slack is gone on the cover display too. If I do that on my Z Fold 6, I can set the 2 app layouts separately. Because who the heck needs to use the same apps on the cover as they do on the interior screen? My outer apps are all my communication apps because I'm doing stuff on the go on the cover. And the inside ones are like my games and my media, my shopping, all the stuff that I want to use like on the big screen. Like when I'm scrolling through like Amazon or eBay and I want to see bigger product photos, or I'm playing a game, or I'm watching Netflix or YouTube. I don't want all those on the cover because I'm not going to watch YouTube on the cover screen. I don't understand this. It doesn't make any sense to me. And also, customization is one thing. Multitasking is another. You can't do multitasking like you can on the Z Fold. No one does it like Samsung. So you can't have 3 windows open even on the Pixel Fold. It's got a bigger main display, but you can't do 3 windows. On the Z Fold 6, I can open up 3 windows and have like 5 other windows open in little pop-up windows that I can put to the side. I can only do 2 on the Pixel Fold. Very limited. And it's not great. So I mean, I just think as much as I like the Pixel Fold hardware, I don't think I could use a foldable for productivity that right now isn't made by Samsung. Yeah, that isn't made from Samsung because I don't get multitasking. What device is made for multitasking more than a book style foldable? It's got the biggest screen on a phone. So that's the number one thing you want to do with a book style foldable is like do all your productivity. And then you can't set up separate app layouts. So I can't even use the cover screen and the interior screen in different ways, which is the whole point. Isn't that the whole point of having a book style foldable? Like the cover screen is for when you're on the go. And then when you're like somewhere and you want to enjoy your content or whatever, you open it up.
Yep.
You should be able to have different apps on your home screen because I don't want to have to search through, find my media apps in the app drawer and all that stuff all the time. Plus, the Pixel doesn't have like Apps Edge or anything like Samsung and One UI either, so you can't quickly access them. You can access from the taskbar, but there aren't other easy ways to access them one-handed. So, camera looks a little better, but I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was expecting this to like blow me away, and I do like it. But given that it's the same price almost as the Z Fold 6 for similar storage configuration, Google doesn't give you as good of trade-in. Even though the special edition's coming and obviously not coming to the US, I would still say, like, if you need a foldable right now, I would still buy the Z Fold 6. I don't like the narrow cover display, but the camera isn't that much better on here. If the camera like blew me away, I would say, well, maybe I would lean towards this because the wider cover screen plus the camera. But the camera doesn't blow me away. It's a little better, but it's not like so much better. So I like it, but I'm going to say Samsung is still ahead. And if the Fold 7 looks like the special edition, it's all over for everyone. Like we said in the last episode, Samsung is going to clean house of every other Android manufacturer with foldables, just like they did with the Galaxy S6 with slab phones, where they're like, hey, HTC and LG, Motorola, time to pack your stuff. Yeah. Might as well get out of the Android phone game because we're just going to take over the whole space. That same thing is going to happen with foldables if the special edition and the 7 basically look the same and have the same features. Plus, One UI 7 will come to the special edition before it becomes the 7. So it's going to be game over if that's the case. iPhone 16 event preview thoughts. I only have one thought. I don't really have a lot to say about this. We'll talk about it after the event next week because there'll be some funny like stuff from the event. There's always funny stuff in the Apple events to make fun of. My only thought is like boring, super boring, gonna put me to sleep, boring style. I think Samsung planned it so that One UI 6.1.1 comes out in the US and the S24 on Monday because that's the day of the Apple event. So they want something, they still want Samsung in the news. That's probably why they did it, which is great because I'll be playing with 6.1.1 and making videos, and then I'll just watch the Apple event later because I know it's going to be like, this is our phone, it's the same phone from last year. It's got 2 megapixels more on the camera. Yep. We invented a new word for this software feature, but it's a feature that Samsung has had for 10 years. And we put a slightly faster processor in here, but the phone still can't take advantage of it because it has no multitasking capabilities. iOS 18 gives you the ability to make your icons look completely ugly by turning them all dark, but you still can't add custom icon packs. I just summarized the whole event for you. You don't even need to watch it now.
Yeah, no, he really did.
Basically,
just about all of them.
Here's the same phone from last year. It comes in a different color so that you can tell that you bought the new one and wasted your money by upgrading to a phone that's the same. The camera's improved by a couple megapixels. We renamed a couple of software features that Samsung released 10 years ago to use them as a buzzword to market the phone. And iOS 18 now lets you customize your icons, which Android has let you do for 15 years, but you can't even customize them fully, so isn't that completely useless? Right. Anyway, that's pretty much the summary, so you don't really need to watch the Apple event, but I'll watch it anyway so we can talk about some of the funnier pull quotes that they have there. So we kind of did pretty well in time, 53 minutes here. We got a couple of questions and Q&A. Tori, you have one from our friend Galaxy Nexus. We apologize for getting the name wrong. So he told us we were like GLXY. We were like spelling it out like some idiots over here on the SammyGuru podcast. We apologize, but Tori got the name right, and you've got the question queued up, right, Tori? You want to go ahead and read it to us?
Yeah, I do.
We appreciate these great questions, by the way. It makes the Q&A a lot easier for us to do.
Yeah, it does, and you're always on it, so thank you. So Galaxy Nexus, he says, do you guys think it would behoove Samsung to partner up with Microsoft / Bing AI to bring certain AI features to the Galaxy phones and give them a certain leg up over Google and Apple / OpenAI?
That's a good question. First of all, I love the choice of the word behoove. Love that word. It's a great word. So I commend that. I'm a big fan of that word. So a couple of things. I mean, it would be an interesting partnership. I mean, they kind of already have in some sense partnered with Microsoft because obviously they released this Copilot PC, the Snapdragon PC with the Book 4 Edge. But the thing is, you got to remember, they also are partnered with Google. So it's not like Samsung can't just go out and partner with Microsoft and bring Copilot AI to the Galaxy phones and be like, Google sucks, OpenAI sucks, use Bing AI, it's great. Because Google still makes Android, and they also have a bunch of Google features on their phone, and every Android, at least in the US and Europe, uses Google services. So you can't just be like, well, Google sucks, and then the users will be like, but wait, isn't Gmail the default email app? Isn't Google Messages now the default? You told me to switch from Samsung to Google Messages. So that would be a little confusing. I think the thing at the end of the day is, I think Samsung has a good strategy. I think Galaxy AI for on-device stuff, along with Google for like circle to search and stuff like that. Plus, you can bring Gemini. I think what Samsung should do is they should convince Google to license some Gemini features to them. Not convince them, just like force them. Because again, what choice do they have? Like Samsung keeps the whole Android ecosystem afloat. Just be like, hey, we're going to stop using Android, or, not that, but just, strong arm them into saying, hey, we want some Gemini advanced features that people have to pay for on other phones. We want them exclusively to Galaxy. So if you buy an S25, not only do you get all the Galaxy Eye features, you're going to get Gemini advanced features for free. You'd have to pay for Google One. They could do that. I mean, they really could. Google, what are they going to do? They're going to be like, oh, no, we want the features to sell some pixels. The number of phones Samsung sells and the value of Android is like billions of dollars over what the Pixel lineup is worth. Pixel's great, and it brings in a little money. It lets them showcase what they think Android should look like for hardware. But if Samsung wanted this, they could get it. I think Google is way ahead in terms of AI over Microsoft, so I would kind of prefer they partner with Google and keep doing Galaxy Eye as well. What do you think, Tori?
No, I agree as well. Again, kind of like as we are kind of talking about earlier with just how AI is kind of creeping in and just having more easily accessibility, like already built into the phone. And so, but I do agree that, we can't bring in all this stuff and also be like, hey, Google, you also suck.
Yeah, that'd be a contradictory message.
Yeah, it would be.
You can't just be like, yeah, use Bing AI, it's the best. And then like, here, sign into your Gmail account in order to set up your Android phone.
Literally everything is like connected to
It's like everything is
account.
Google. And then you get to the last page, it's like, man, don't use any Google AI services. That's garbage. Only use Copilot, Bing. We're partnered with Microsoft. #sponsored.
Yeah.
You can't really. I don't think that'd work.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah. You can have your hands in a lot of buckets, but those buckets are just a little too contradictory,
Yeah, especially if you have Google everything.
Yeah.
But that one. And so I would actually like to see it. Because I'm starting to see a lot of like everything is like AI, and there's so many different AI things to use. I feel like consumers will gravitate a lot if it was just like one really big thing that was easily accessible.
Who knows? We could be AI.
Yeah,
maybe not even real people doing this podcast.
I know.
We could be AI right now. You could be listening to an answer from two AI chatbots. It's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Speaking of AI, last question too. I want to give a shout out. I don't know who this was. I'm going to look it up and put it in the show notes. Someone asked me last week, and this is scary. I don't know if they work for Samsung, but if they do, hit me up because, like I said, I'm willing to pay for some leaks. Jeff@SammyGuru.com. Someone last week, remember how I was talking about, and I told you that I was discussing with the owner of Sam Mobile about how they should make the tablets just like laptops and run DeX mode?
Yeah.
Someone messaged me on Twitter, or it was in a comment on Twitter, and they said, do you think Samsung will add a Galaxy AI button then on the keyboards? We talked about their expensive keyboard for the Tab S10 so that people can easily get into Galaxy Eye, because we were talking about how Galaxy Eye is everywhere. And I didn't really think about the question until the day, but then I opened our website this morning after I got up from sleeping, and Sumit had covered a new story, and guess what the story says? Samsung announces that they've added a Galaxy Eye button to the Tab S10 keyboard.
Yep. Boom.
Whoever did that, impressive. I got to find it and congratulate you in the show notes. I didn't know who it was, but if you work for Samsung, definitely get in touch with us. But
yes.
That's pretty scary. So Samsung has confirmed there will be a Galaxy Eye button on the Tab S10 keyboard. So if you buy, I will probably buy one for the review, but I don't know that anyone should buy the first party. It's $350 for the Ultra.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Like, that's expensive. I hope they drop the price. Like the one for the Tab S9 Ultra, I have it. But I did not want to pay $350 for that, because it's like you can't use it as a full laptop. So maybe if they make it so that it runs DeX out of the box and has Galaxy Eye shortcut button, maybe it'll be more valuable. But I don't know about that. Anyway, Tori, any other questions that you saw?
No, it was just that one. And will the S21 get the update?
Right, we answered that earlier. I'm sorry to tell you that it looks like that's a resounding no. The S21 will be in line to get more software security updates, but how many more feature updates it's going to get, and I don't know, because it's almost 4 years old at this point.
Yeah.
I would recommend, I'm not telling people what to do, but if you have an S21, you care about tech, and you can afford it, Samsung's probably going to give you a pretty solid amount of trade-in for the S25 Ultra, I would guess, because they really want to hit the S21, S22 users. You probably get $700, $800 for your phone. that's way more than it's worth. Might as well pull the trigger on the S22 Ultra. I mean, S25 Ultra. And if you do, always be closing. Go to SammyGuru.com/pre-order to get a mystery box, and you can get a free case cleaning kit, desktop home stand, all that other good stuff when you do pre-order. And we've already got 750 people signed up, so it's going to be our biggest launch ever. We can't wait.
No, we
Huge
can't
surprises, which I'll be announcing throughout the fall on the podcast as well, with some new stuff that we're working on. We're working on a ton of stuff from the website. Good things are coming. If you guys like cases, I'm going to be getting into the case business along with our good friend over at 14 Studio. So if you guys like cases and you like his wallpapers, I'm just saying, I can't say too much yet, but I'm just saying that I'm not saying. But stay tuned to the podcast and the website because we're going to be doing some cool stuff leading up to the S25 launch. Anyway, Tori and I are hungry. We got to go. We're going to go eat some Chinese food.
Yeah.
Come back here and get ready to go have a relaxing night, we hope. Hope you guys have One UI 6.1.1 by the time we talk to you guys. And we just want to remind you guys this week to never stop expanding your galaxy.